Are we up and running? Seems so. Picking up exactly where we left off. A new month. I haven't had a chance to close off the bookkeeping for November yet because it's a Saturday. Last night was Friday. Cameron left at 5. So there's some orders and stuff from yesterday evening that haven't been processed yet because he's off for the weekend. So I can't actually get a readout for November's figures for a few days. But it's been a great month. It's the biggest month we've ever had. We keep growing month by month now. It's incredible. You know? That's actually probably going to change now. Since the summer, July, August, September, October, we had been coming into our autumn season, so it's been growing month by month, just as a matter of seasonal variation. Plus our normal growth on top of that. That's going to change now because December is a quieter month normally in our normal seasonal pattern. So December will be down from November just as a matter of course. And it's okay, December, January, February will be quieter, and we need some quiet time here. We've got to get our bearings. The last half a year or so since we opened the shop has been kind of staggeringly busy for us, and we really need a chance to settle down for a minute, get some cleanup, get some maintenance, get some YouTube videos made, So we're up and running, are we? Hello. I'm trying something in the background here. I'm trying another chat. Somebody a few days ago recommended to me a better chat server. It's, what is it? Japanese name? No, it's Colloqui. But it doesn't seem, I've got the settings wrong somehow. It's supposed to be reading this chat, but nothing's appearing in it. So I'll have to look later on to find out how the settings work. But I'm seeing where you are. Okay, today's Saturday here in Asakusa. We probably won't hear footsteps outside. That lady is a weekday worker, it seems. And because it's Saturday, Cameron will not be dropping in. You just got me. I'm just here by myself for the session. It's a chilly but clear day. Winter is clearly on the way. We have a little bit of show and tell today with something a bit different, something a lot different actually. Something I'll show you a bit later on, and actually it's not, it doesn't have a woodblock print in it, which is a bit funny, but we'll see when I get there. It's also something kind of personal. And it's also a little bit something I try not to do too much. It's a show and tell that has a sales motivation. You know, the show and tell we had yesterday has nothing to do with selling. It was just a bunch of prints that we have in our collection here. But the one we have today is different. It'll be it's something that we sell here, but it doesn't have a woodblock print in it at the moment. Yet. It's actually something that Cameron's been working on for nearly a year since he got here. Cameron's been here for just over a year now. And the idea, one of the ideas between him coming here, of course, was that he would get working in the background on projects that I had not simply had time to do. And he's been doing that, and what we've done is we've brought an old project to life again. Okay, all right. This is clearly going to be one of those quiet streams today. I can get work done. Delivery's happening outside. Not for me, next door, the oyster shack, right? They get a bunch of deliveries during the day. In the morning, somewhere around this time, is the delivery of the oysters. There's a bunch of chilled packs come in. None of the oyster shack staff is there yet, but the delivery guys leave the things on the patio, outside the door. They get delivery of the towels, the hand towels, the oysters. The booze deliveries come a couple of times during the day. They get one in the morning just before noon, and they get another one in the late afternoon. The delivery from the liquor shop. Yeah. also something new here the other day. A new coffee shop opened just about 1 block away. And it looks like, I don't know what it's sort of like a Starbucks type place, I guess. I don't know. It seems to be a chain, and it's something to do with Scandinavia. About 1 block from here, at the end of Hoppidori, a new capsule hotel opened. I forget if it's called Level 9 or 9th floor or something 9. It has 9 in the name. And the bottom 2 floors of it are a big wide open coffee shop. You know, one of these open tables, free Wi-Fi, sit where you want, take all day to do your work with a laptop, kind of a coffee shop. Just around the corner from us, and they're open at 7, and they offer all-day breakfasts. I'll have to give it a try one of these days. It's literally around the corner from me, about 15 seconds walk from my front door here. There haven't been too many places here to get breakfast. Japanese don't do breakfast in a restaurant for the most part. They either eat at home or they're in a hotel. But there's not so many restaurants out in the world that do breakfast. This capsule hotel looks interesting. It looks really, really modern and cool. It's not tiny, closed-in, claustrophobic capsules. The capsules are like the size of a double bed or something. And the building is ultra-modern. It looks down over Sensoji Temple. I looked at the website last night. There's a bunch of pictures. It looks fantastic. I forget the name of it. Something with the word 9. Not Cloud 9, Level 9, something 9. 9 something, I can't remember. Will we find it? Look for something else. Food. Traditional Japanese painting? I don't know. I know we don't base our work on much painting at all. We don't have really anything to do with traditional Japanese painting. That's a whole different world from the printmaking world. Now, really what we do here, making prints, this is really the printing business. It's not so much art business at all. People interested in things like traditional Japanese painting, they have nothing to do with us, you know. Sometimes like cherry blocks in Tokyo. I don't know. There's only one person selling them, I think. Just go to Wood Like Matsumura. And I don't have a link handy for you here, but if you type Wood Like Matsumura, 2 words, it's a shop that pops up here in Tokyo, and they sell cherry blocks. We don't buy ours from them anymore. We used to. Nowadays, our cherry blocks, we make them ourselves here. We're laminating them up ourselves. If you're trying to buy wood in Tokyo, Wood Like Matsumura is the place here. Yeah, there you got it. Thank you. What are my favorite prints? I don't, again, you know, my function in all of these things really is a technical and engineering thing here. And a really important aspect for me is to try and make prints and pictures as technically well as I can. And I'm not overly interested in the actual content of the image itself. You know, if you were here yesterday, I did some show and tell. I showed some Meiji era prints. And my interest in such objects is not so much the things that are shown inside the pictures. It may be a bit interesting or maybe not interesting, whatever. But my interest in all of these things and in all the work I'm doing is actually the technical competence here. I'm a very narrow-minded person in that sense. You know, most people who look at our work are enjoying them as pictures, as images, but I myself, I'm not so interested in that part of it. You know, it's maybe a bit paradoxical to some people who talk to me about this. You know, they want to see the images and the art, and I myself, I can't say I don't see that. That's not right. But it's not so much interest to me. There was once a while back a Japanese TV was interviewing me or something, whatever. We'd been here for a while. They'd been going through the interview for a while. And at some point they asked me about ukiyo-e, or maybe this, who do I like best? And I said something like in Japanese, I said, I really don't have much interest in ukiyo-e. It's not something I find interesting. It's archaic and out of date and doesn't really speak to me. Or, you know, I forget what I actually said. I was speaking in Japanese. And the guy's taken aback. He thought I was I was living because of an interest in Japanese ukiyo-e prints, you know. And I don't. I'm an engineer. So how can I make an analogy, you know, this? Imagine if somebody here had, let's use that word engineer, let's use that literally, some guy who designs bridges or whatever. And his job, he's interested in engineering, in physics, and in structure of steel, and how the curves of the bridge look when it's finished, and all that stuff. And he could care less about how people get from A to B. They're just trying to get across this bridge to go somewhere. But he's interested in the physical thing itself, and the beauty of the thing itself, and the structure of the thing itself, and how it's made, you know. Maybe that's the nearest analogy I can give to this, you know. The engineer couldn't care. Oh, you want to go over there across the river? Oh, okay, yeah, whatever, go ahead. That's not why he's doing it himself. That might be an analogy to my position in this printmaking thing, maybe. 9 hours, that's it. Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. Sorry about that, 9 hours. Don't know why they call it 9 hours. Is that all you're allowed to stay? I don't think so. I'm still getting this bot as blocked, you know, it just said now message from blocked user. I clicked it and it came okay. I've told this thing, if I click the printmaking bot, here's the commands for it. It says I can block it or I can report it. It's open, it's not blocked, but why it comes blocked every day, I don't know. I don't think it reminded me of the paper, but the paper is out. Just one package today. Little Day-chan, her paper's coming out today. It's Saturday, there's not many printers up there. Someone's asking about a mistake. Yes, I don't have to start again, but usually we just fix mistakes as we go. There's one video on our YouTube channel that talks about when I did have to start again. It's the video about the Kuchie print. And I had to start all over again with a whole block. And it's a long, long story. The video tells that story. We make small mistakes almost in every print somewhere along the line. And we can fix them when necessary because it's just wood. You just put a piece of wood plug in and start it and cut that little space again. Not too many mistakes recently. Getting a bit better at it. It was funny the last couple of days, when I get up in the morning, I do a quick perusal of the mail that's in my box. And the last few days has been a bit of a switch in the mail. When we put a new YouTube video up, there's a bunch of comments on it coming right away. So for the next couple of days after doing a new video, my email box is full, inundated with the comments from the video. I have YouTube's system set to send me a notification when there's comments on those things, because it's fun to read. And so in the immediate aftermath of putting up a new video, there's tons of comments. And then for any given video, it goes quiet, because, you know, as people see it now and then, they comment, but not so often. But then every once in a while, the YouTube algorithm clearly does something and decides to send or promote one of our videos more than normal. And that must have happened yesterday, because the old Remembering a Carver video has jumped back to life and has got tens of thousands of views a day over the past couple of days. So maybe somebody posted it to Reddit, or YouTube itself, I don't know. YouTube itself decided to, the algorithm decided to put it up at the front again. I don't know, whatever. But the last couple of days again, that video has sprung back to life, and lots and lots and lots of comments. And some are embarrassing. There was one, I can't even tell you, it's just too embarrassing, whatever. The comments are really, really, wonderful. There's almost nobody writes negative comments on our YouTube channel. Almost nobody. Or 1 in 1,000, not even 1 in 1,000. And some of the comments yesterday, one of the girls here was looking, I was chatting with her about this, so she said, what do you mean? So I just pulled up, I went to the video itself, Remembering a Carver, and we just scrolled down through the last dozen comments or so, and she looks at me like, what is this? What are these people thinking about? You know? She just thinks I'm a guy here, the boss her. She doesn't know. Some of the newer staff members here, we were talking, it was Louis Chan, we were talking about that. She might be in today, I don't remember who's in today. And she's new here, so she doesn't know too much about the background of this place. You know, so all she knows is that it was a shop. She'd heard about it. I can't even remember how she came to hear about it. But so she doesn't know much about the history or background of this place. A lot of the new employees are in that same position. They don't really know who we are. They're learning bit by bit. But there'll be people on this stream who are watching this today who know more about the background of Mokuhankan than some of our newer employees, of course. $59,999 YouTube subscribers. I think that's probably changed since you wrote that. So I'm missing some of this. You're talking about music. Sorry. Tick, 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 tick. Sorry, I'm missing part of this. Whatever. Bit messy in the middle here of all these twigs. Speaking of these twigs, it's Jed. Jed drew these things, and he's over at the Tokyo Comic Con this morning, and it'll be a big day. It's Saturday morning over there, and it'll be crowded. There'll be a bajillion people over there today. I think they were also open yesterday, but now it's the weekend, and it's the main event. I don't know if anybody has a live feed or something from the Tokyo Comic Con, but if you can find it, Jed is over there somewhere. I guess they have an artist's alley, or I'm not sure what. He said he was happy about this because it's a big, big convention, many, many attendees, but there's not all that many people displaying. It's only the third year of the show. It's a fairly new show. And he said some of the American shows, there are so many exhibitors that you get buried in it. You know. But to here, he said it's reasonable. There's a ton of attendees and not all that many exhibitors. So he said there's people, he gets a chance to see. Pretty much everybody who comes to the show gets a chance to at least walk down the road where he is, you know, And with some of the American shows, it can't. It's just too big. When you visit a show, you can't even if you spent all day running around, you couldn't see everything that's there. So lots of people who go to the show don't see him. But this one he was interested in. He thinks that he'll see everybody. So he's going to work hard today. Keep up with this today, sorry. No. Oh, someone's going to the Karuizawa Mokuhanga School, Terry McKenna's place. Good. Terry's a good guy. He's really a good guy. Karuizawa's a nice place too. I know years ago, before we had this shop, long before we even dreamed of this shop, before I bought the house in Ome, I was casting around for a place to think about living. I'd been in Japan for maybe it was about 15 years or so. I'd been renting an apartment all that time. I was thinking about where I would like to live if I ever had a chance to buy a house. And at that time, this is back in the late 1990s, land in Tokyo was still hugely, hugely expensive. It's way different from now. And it was impossible for me to even think about buying a house in Tokyo. So I tried looking out at some outer areas, and Karuizawa was one of the places I went to check. It's about a 1 hour train ride north. Well, it's faster than that on the Shinkansen, but 1 hour normal train ride north. And it's what used to be what do you call it? A resort. It was a summer resort up in the mountains there. A place where people could afford it. They went away for weeks in the summer for the cooler environments. Summer resort was up there. And richer people had a summer house up there or vacation cottage or stuff like that. And since the end of the bubble economy, that's decayed quite a lot. Not too many people now would have to think about getting a summer resort, a summer vacation house. But at the time I checked, it was still too expensive. But that's where Terry has set up his home and studio. And I think he's just about ready to get started. And when I spoke to him a few weeks ago, he was on his way through here on a trip back to Australia. And he said he's getting up, set up bit by bit by bit. They've got their home up now, and now he was at that time building the studio itself. So, and he knows what he's doing. He practices mokuhanga like this, not so much in the classical traditional way that we do, but in a more modern way, the way that foreigners are doing it. And he's making attractive prints, and he knows what he's doing, and he's going to be teaching it. He learned a lot from Richard Steiner down in Kyoto. So Terry's approach to it isn't, as I said, isn't the classical approach, but he makes prints. How come I don't have neck pain, etc., etc.? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I know there's two aspects to that thing about the body pain and stuff. These days I don't do this for a very long time. I'm going to do this for 90 minutes today. Then I'll be typing. Then I'll be helping people shop. I'll do a print party. It's different jobs and stuff all day long. So these days I don't do any specific job for a long, long time. There's no reason to get neck pain, wrist pain, finger pain, whatever. But if you go back, whatever, 10 years or so, for 25 years, I did intensively for many, 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 many hours each day, just carving or just printing. When I was making publishing a print every month, which I did for 20 years, I published a print every month. I'd spend roughly 2 weeks as a carver, morning till night, carving. Then a couple of weeks as a printer, morning till night, printing. But even at that time, when I was really intensively doing a single job all day long, there was no issue. It wasn't an issue. I just never got pain. Part of it, I think, is this setup, the way the Japanese benches are sensibly set up. Nobody here uses the terminology ergonomic and stuff like this. They're traditional workers. They're just doing it the way that it was always done. And the old traditional Japanese guys do have problems with their legs and knees because they sit cross-legged and do this. We don't do that. I stopped doing that years ago. I did for the first, 10 years or so. I sat cross-legged. And I realized that was going to become a problem. So when I built my own home and built my own workshop, from scratch, I built a workshop where I didn't have to sit cross-legged. I sit with my legs hanging down, as I do right now. I'm sitting in a normal position. I'm not sitting on my legs right now. My legs go down underneath. But other than that, that's the only change we've made in the traditional system. The carving bench, at the moment, it leans up to me a bit gently, so I don't have to lean forward too much. And the printing bench leans away, so we can put pressure in with our body. So I'm not sure. The reason I don't have aches and pains is because of the bench angles, or it's just my body nature, or I don't know. We get asked that a lot, and I don't have any specific answer. Every now and then people say, well, you just wait, it's going to get to you. You just wait, it's coming. And whatever, maybe it's coming. I'm 67 now, and when is it coming? I don't know. So we'll see. 67. God, I can't believe that still. If my mother's listening this morning, whether she's not 67, but for her to have a 67-year-old son is probably a bizarre thing for her to think. This is not Ito-san's bench. You're confusing two different carvers. Ito-san, the carver, is the guy I have in that video, Remembering a Carver. I received some tools from him. I don't have them here, but I received some knives from his wife after he passed away. The bench here is from Harada-san, Kametaro Harada. His son gave it to me about 50 years after Harada-san died. So, what's written on the lantern in the background? It says, Moku Han-kan. It's our company name, our organization name. It's the same thing written on our front door. Moku Han-kan. That's the name of our workshop. The bad word for making a bench. Good. Make your bench nice and strong. You can't overbuild benches. Absolutely. And do I need a haircut? You know, this hair is just getting in the way so much. Next Tuesday, I'm off to Ome on Tuesday. Tuesday's a no stream day, and actually we're finished our super busy autumn season in the shop here, it seems. So Tuesday I'm going to be off to Ome. There will be staff here. We're going to have the shop staff. Cameron will be here in the shop, and a couple of staff members will be here. But Tuesday I'll be over to Ome. I got a bunch of things lined up to do over there. I haven't seen the place in a couple of months. Chat with some of the staff, get some things lined up. I got to talk to them about the MS project. That's what I was going to show and tell today. The MS project is coming back to life. We've still got time for show and tell, right? What is it, 8:46? Yeah, remind me about 9 o'clock or something. Today's show and tell has had a code word in our emails for the past few months between me and Cameron about MS. The MS project. And it comes back to life. Actually, I brought it back to life. Once we knew this was happening, I opened the website page up a few days ago. Nobody seems to have noticed. A bunch of people have been asking about this for a long, long time. I've just been putting them off and saying, yeah, I'll try and get to it, I'll try and get to it, I'll try and get to it. Cameron has been getting to it over the past half a year, more than half a year. And we opened the website a couple of days ago quietly. Yeah, I'm going to go on Tuesday. She's going to yell at me again. Where have you been? Why didn't you come? Get a buzz cut. Yeah, right. What do I miss about living in the West? You mean living back in Canada, you mean? I miss a few things. I do, actually. I can't. Not enough to make me move back there, but I miss a few things. And some of them are available here in Japan, but just not as easily as they were back there. I miss, when I was back for my dad's funeral and stuff last year, near the hospital where I was staying with him, was a nice Western coffee shop. It wasn't a Starbucks, it was some local thing. And they had a case full of food Stuff like really, really nice, thick, juicy bran muffins, rich, deep, nice bread, nice meat sandwiches. Those things don't exist on an easy basis here in Tokyo where I am. There might be somewhere selling something that's called a bran muffin, but it's nothing like what you get in any Vancouver coffee shop. I want a bran muffin bigger than my head. Well, not quite, but a thing that will do for lunch just by itself with a nice cup of coffee and a bran muffin, and it's chewy and it's just right and the texture is, that I can't get here in Tokyo anywhere. That kind of food actually is really not, if you tried to sell such a thing here in a coffee shop in Tokyo, it would be considered some exotic weird thing and it wouldn't sell very well at all, I think. Anyway, I miss that. That's one thing I miss about Vancouver. And the other thing I miss about Vancouver, or living back there in the West, this is more difficult to explain. I'm not quite sure to put it in one sentence. Easygoing, casual, social life. I don't know. I worked in a company with a bunch of friends, and we had friends who worked in different companies from me. And there would be any number of times in a month or a week or whatever where we would socialize with people in the evenings. Maybe after work, we would actually, have some people over at home for dinner, stuff like this. And we would enjoy, different kinds of conversation with these people. And that kind of stuff doesn't exist here in Japan on a casual level. You don't have friends over to your house, period. Or you don't ever go to a friend's house. It just doesn't happen. You can work with a guy in the same company for 55 years and you'd never be in his home. Never. It just isn't done. It's all done in restaurants or bars. And that's a different kind of experience. There's lots of socializing here in a restaurant or a bar. There's too much socializing. The manager says, let's go for a drink, and you can't say no, and it's just a bar and people are drinking and it's noisy and smoky and there's no interesting conversation. But with friends back in the West, it's a more friendly, peaceful, casual, quiet situation, and there's always lots of interesting conversation. I can't say always, but whatever, there's frequently a chance for a good conversation. And it's not always the same people you're with. Just when I worked in a music store, because I was a single guy, I wasn't a single guy, but because I had a partner at home who was cooking and stuff, some of the guys were single guys and didn't. So we'd say at 5:30, the guy's going out to a restaurant and say, hey, want to come over for dinner, whatever. The guy would come for dinner, a couple of people would come for dinner, and it would be a really, really pleasant evening. And that doesn't exist here. So that's another thing I miss, Friendly, peaceful time with friends. I've been here now 30 odd years, 35, I forget, 34, 35 years. And the number of times I have been in an acquaintance's house, whatever, it wouldn't be one hand. I couldn't count them on one hand. Oh yeah, what are you talking about? Oh, MS, I see. MS, not Microsoft, Yeah, social interactions are uptight. That's the whole thing in a single word. Just there's no casual peacefulness in social interactions. They are too uptight, totally. Remember, each culture has, you know, the things that match what they are. If I was that upset about it, I could leave, you know. It's not something that I'm going to jump up and down and scream about. But that's the way it is. I mean, as far as not inviting people into your home, I get it from historical reasons, you know, because there was a really uncomfortable environment, tight, no space to relax, physically uncomfortable. So I get the historical reason for it, and you know, there's a huge inertia in society in anything. あ、どうもありがとうございます。はい、いいですか、どうも。はい、Thank you。
はい、どうも、
はい、ありがとうございます。Thank you。Package from somewhere, no idea. The fireworks, that was this thing, that was a normal thing for Japan. It wasn't an anomaly, and that's a good example. Once a year, there's a way where you sit and chat with your friends because there's fireworks. It's a thing, it's an accepted, there is the time when you go and do this. It's a special event put on by the city and blah, 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 blah. That's the example of how it works here. It can't happen on a typical Wednesday afternoon. It's got to happen once a year on the big fireworks event, and there's a bajillion people around, and it's a big deal and everything else. Yeah, Hanami. Yeah, that's the point. There are events. It's scripted, I guess is what we're getting at here. Those kind of social interactions are scripted. What we're missing is the normal, easygoing, casual, hey, you guys, you gonna come over for dinner tonight? And then the conversations would be interesting. Even when the fireworks were here, you know, there wasn't anything that happened. We just watched the fireworks and there was the usual, you know, empty kind of conversation. There wasn't anything interesting that we got into discussion about. That's the other part of it. It's not just the meeting together and having a beer on the table and having the, you know, being in the same room together. It's not just that. It's the kind of conversations and discussions you would have when you're there. And here they are they're very shallow. Nothing interesting really goes on at all in this kind of conversation, even when you do have it. Is that a twig? Did I miss one? I think it's one. Be careful, Dave, don't screw up. I think that's a twig. It's the last outline twig. In those kind of meetings, the fireworks and stuff, and the typical Japanese after dinner time in the pub, which exists, is considered really important here. FaceTime with your co-workers and colleagues. It's not that it doesn't exist here, it's considered really, really important. But you don't actually say anything interesting. I can get to part of the reason for that is I could imagine a situation where I'd been talking with friends back in Canada or whatever, and maybe sometimes there's a political aspect of the conversation or religious or something, and you get potential hostility. You get people with very different viewpoints. And in an English language situation, how can I say this? You certainly get trouble sometimes. People who, whatever, a Trump supporter and a non-Trump supporter in the same room, you're going to sometimes get quite vigorous, hostile conversation, perhaps. And the deal here in Japan will be to avoid that kind of thing at all costs, because you do not want a workplace where you've got hostility between people because of political issues or something like that. So the Japanese system is sort of designed, not designed, but you know what I mean. The Japanese system is designed to make sure that those kind of overt situations and hostilities don't exist. So the rules about what you're allowed to talk about and what you're allowed to bring up and what happens in a working situation are intended to mitigate that and keep the society and the working environment as stress-free as possible. Whereas Westerners are more inclined to just go for it. If you like Trump and I don't, we're going to hammer it out and start fighting, and that's too bad. Chips fall where they may. But the Japanese system tries to make sure that doesn't happen. So this is part of it, and I get it. I understand what's happening. I'm not just railing into the darkness here, I get it. The Japanese system is very much designed to be happy and party together and make sure we're okay and don't make trouble and don't rock the boat and let's pretend everything's all okay. Whereas the Western situation allows more hostility between people. And it's sometimes difficult. We hear lots recently about families trying to get together for Thanksgiving and it all blows up, stuff like this. So yeah, it's all part and parcel of a big social cultural difference. You can't just change one thing and expect everything else to stay the same. So I do get it. I understand why it is like this. But for me, as a person who enjoys sometimes those discussions and cut and thrusts and having opposite opinions, for me, I miss that stuff. I think that block now, all the main cutting is done. I think cut, everything's done. The next step on this block is going to be making some noise. Before we do that, what is it, 902? Let's do a little bit of show and tell. Show and tell with a difference. It's selfish show and tell. It's not show and tell about, look at this stuff we bought for the collection. This is show and tell that might result in orders. So excuse me, just now and then I have to do this. Oh, comments. I'm sorry not to have taken your input here. I'll read this later. When I'm having lunch, I'll sit and read it. The sword and the chrysanthemum. That's very old-fashioned, I know. When you read stuff like that, take it with a grain, because it does describe pretty well what was happening here 2 generations ago. But there's lots of aspects to modern Japanese society that are not covered in books like that. So if you're reading about Japan, and I made the same mistake a generation ago, don't just read those old books, because so much has changed here. It's a dramatically different culture now. Anyway, let's look at some prints. Not a print. As I said, there's no print involved here. It's going to be a short Chantel. There's no print. MS. I mentioned MS. What MS stands for? Excuse me a second. This week's stream brought to you by. Coming back to life after 10 years? Is it 10 years? I don't even know. What's the publication date here? 2009. So it's nearly 10 years. MS stands for My Solitudes. It's the series of books and prints that I published between, 2007 and 2009. I made a set of 12 woodblock prints. Took 3 years. It was supposed to take 2 years. It was a little bit more difficult than I thought. And it took 3 years. And I published a set of 12 prints. I should have prepared a link here. Let me try and remember this. HTTP woodblock.com/solitudes. There's the link to the original series, which I published back in 2004. 2007, whatever it was. I don't even know. The deal was, it was a set of books. It was 12 books. There's part 2. I'm supposed to start with part 1. It was part 1. Sorry about that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. This is part 2. And the books are books. They are about 30 pages, 40 pages, whatever each one. And at the back of each book, and it's not here yet, at the back of each book, there's a space where a woodblock print goes in place. And I published them in that form, a set of 12, one every 3 months, over a period of 3 years. And the finished set is supposed to be month by month. It's a 12-month passage through the year. It's back up and running. At the time I did it, I made 200 of the prints, 200 of each copy of the prints. The subscribers back at that time were about 90, 95, 100 people. So about half the prints left. When the series was over, I moved on to something else. It was the beauty of the Japanese print or something, the mystique of the Japanese print, I can't remember. And the prints went onto the shelf and out of the way. And at the time we did this, a lady living near me in the near town of Ome, she's the one who did the bookbinding for me. I printed with a local printing company. No, we did it on our laser printer at home. I printed the text parts on a laser printer at home. We printed the book covers in woodblock print with patterns and with a woodblock print cover. And she, the lady who lived near me, did the actual bookbinding, and we sent them out every 3 months to subscribers. After that finished, that lady moved on. I moved to Ome. The connections changed. The current staff in Ome don't want to learn how to make these books. So the project has been sleeping for 10 years. When Cameron came in here last year, one of his main goals was, let's do the bookkeeping, let's do this. By the way, Cameron, please work bit by bit on getting the My Solitude series back up and running. And one by one, bit by bit, he found a company that was able to print the text for us. It's printed on beautiful, nice washi. I don't know if you can see it. It's printed in the old days. Remember in the old days when I was a kid, books had real letterpress and stuff like this. This is printed as a really nice texture on book pages. He found someone who could do the book binding for us. That was the key point. And he's found somebody now who can do bookbinding. And this was the first batch. She's done a dozen of the volume 1, a dozen volume 2, and a dozen volume 3. And we are now going to put this thing back into the market as a subscription series. I don't have a print for you. The prints are all in Ome. When I'm over in Ome on Tuesday, I'm going to bring some back, and you can see what's happening. Whatever. I don't have any one of the prints to show you. The link is right there, and the link there is to the old website where the prints were, but now we're going to have them as a subscription. I should have got the links ready before we started. Sorry, just a sec. Where is it? I found the link here. Here it is. So here's the link to the subscriptions for this. So what we're also going to work on is we're having a Paulownia wood box made for this, a beautiful box, kiribako, that will store the books. The stories themselves, I didn't explain what they are. I said 12 volume stories. What it is, it's 3 places in 4 seasons. I found 3 places: a riverbank, a forest glade, and a cove on the sea coast. And I went back spring, summer, autumn, winter to those same 3 places, putting my tent up, staying there for 24 hours and seeing what happened. And the stories, there's no plot, nothing happens, there's no adventure story. It's just describing this guy sitting in front of a tent in 3 places in 4 seasons in Japan. What happened, what didn't happen, what cool stuff I saw, what I felt. And the prints, oh my God, I'm not Hasui. I can't draw a beautiful landscape. I took some pictures, I came back, I drew lines on top of some of the pictures. I tried to make scenes, and then I sat down with a carving knife, and there's a ton of blocks. Each of these prints takes 6, 7, 8 blocks, carved both sides, and it was months and months and months and months of work carving them. I think maybe as the months go by now, we're going to be publishing these things month by month. We'll maybe take each of the prints and look at some of the blocks. I don't know, make a blog post about it. The second print with the mushroom, that's the print that goes in this one. This is the book here. This is the Woodland in Summer. And that mushroom print you're looking at is the one that will be issued. It will slide in the back of the book here. The prints are almost A4 size going into the books. Anyway, that's what's happening. That's what MS is about. And Cameron has really worked well putting that back together, because there's just no way I had the time to get that worked out. Okay, where are we? 9:10. Now what I could do also, I said the next step here is making noise, but there's also something else. It turns out that when I was doing this the other day, here's the key block. There's block number 4. Oh, block number 1. What have we got here? We got 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 5 blocks done now, but it turns out that when I was doing this the other day, that block for the brick red, I got sidetracked. And I didn't even notice. I hadn't finished this block before moving on to the one I just started. So I do have a bit more quiet carving to do here before getting out my hammer. So we don't actually have to make noise here. We can do some quiet carving. This is the brick red block. Let me pop up the image and show you what we're doing here. Here's the print. The block we were just finishing up, the one I just worked on a few minutes ago, that was the block for the, I'm zoomed in too close now. You can see it where. This is the block for the stones at the bottom, for the grey over the temple roof, and for twigs up at the top. This block, which I hadn't finished the other day, this is the brick red block. It's the brick red of the front of the temple. You can see it on the temple, not on the roof area, the temple. You can see it, for example, around that woman's umbrella. But that brick red block also has some lines. You can see under the umbrella at the left, there's some people in the background. These are the lines, and there's a woman over it on the picture on the right-hand side, right in front of the brightest part of the print, in front of those white lights. This is this woman here. How many blocks for those 12 prints? I have no idea. 7 or 8 per print times 12. I don't know, I'm sorry. Had I shown this a day earlier, I might have jumped on it. I don't know what you mean, I'm sorry. Next year, okay, sorry. I don't see that stuff anymore. There's a bit of a problem here, you know. This thing about the bookkeeping and the collectors and stuff like that. Before Cameron came, I saw everything. I saw every order. I saw every subscription request. I dealt with the people every month. How's your subscription going? What's going on? And for the past year now, Cameron's been doing that. And the downside now is I don't have a clue what's going on with subscriptions. I mean, I see the financial information. I see the numbers and stuff, and I see how many prints are leaving, and we order new prints from the printers and stuff. So I see the overview. But what I don't see are the names and addresses. So I have no idea at the moment who is a current subscriber, what's going on, who's ordered what. It's not because I'm not interested, it's because Cameron and staff have taken that stuff away from me. I was spending too much time, you know, on the books and stuff, and I'm now not even allowed to see it. And it's sometimes awkward in the shop. We get people sometimes who've come in the shop, and maybe I don't know who they are. They introduce themselves by their name, and then I say, okay, hello. And they wait for my reaction, and maybe like they just became a new subscriber last week or something. But I don't know, so. Oh, what's this? Who's this? Who's coming today? It's Kawai-san. Is it that time? 9:17, yeah. Staff today, it's going to be me and Kawai-san doing the parties. And then Kitamura-san will be here. She's the girl, she's only here maybe twice a month on some weekends. She's the one who works in the No Theatre over in Shibuya. And she likes us, and we like her, but she's got a real job, and she can't spend too much time. And then also coming today is Mori-san. I think you might have seen her last weekend. She's a lady who works for a major Japanese company. And when we asked her to come and work here, she said, no, I can't. I've got a real job. But she's interested, so she's poking around, and she'll be here again today on Saturday to just spend a bit of time with us. And my imaginary situation here, my silly imagining situation, is that she's going to find this place more interesting to work than her major Japanese company with a pension and all the benefits and stuff, and decide to come here. Like that's going to happen. So she may show up just by the end of the stream here. She's a cheerful one too, but she'll come in smiling. President, good morning.
Good morning.
Come say hello.
Good morning.
This is Kawai-san. You've seen him lots of times. He worked upstairs out of the shop. He worked up printing. He's doing those Hasui prints, you know, the new edition of Hasui prints being published over in America. He's printing them. He's on the third batch, fourth batch, I don't know. They're doing the same print in color variations, blue sky, gray sky, brown sky, something, I don't even know. So he's working now on the next batch of prints. Reports for the hires up. I mean, I see every day, because I'm the one who's told us financial bookkeeping. A guy comes in, I don't even know his. So I see stuff, but what I don't see is individual names of all the different people who've ordered prints and stuff like that. You know, so the Solitudes at the moment, the subscription is the prints we have left. Period. I have no intention at the moment of even thinking about reprinting those. We've got about 90 or 100 copies of each one left, and this current subscription is that batch. At some point we'll count them up and put it on the webpage. I can't imagine asking the printers to reprint those. It's an insane amount of work. I don't even know what the price would have to be. You know, at the moment we don't have to pay a printer because those prints exist. Left-handed, right-handed knives, nay. we're getting toward the end of our time here. Okay. All right, it's 9:30. What's the plan here? Today's Saturday. Tomorrow, what I'll be doing is I'll be back here at the same bench carving. Probably I'll be picking up right where I left off, carving this one. And that means tomorrow there's going to be some noise because I'll be doing persuading. I'll be using my round tables here to scoop out a bunch of the area around, and I'll be clearing off. So it won't be a totally noisy stream, but it'll be a bit physically more noisy than the one you've seen this morning here. And that'll give us 5 faces. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 3 more faces to go on this block. I don't have a sample ready for you, but there'll be a face, there'll be a block for the yellow outline around the lanterns, and there'll be a couple of gradation blocks. One block will have the gradation down from the top and up from the bottom. So that's blocks number 6 and block number 7. Then I'm not sure what else. I think I've done everything else, haven't I? I thought there was 8 blocks on this print. I can't remember. Anyway, maybe it's only 7. And then after we carve blocks 6 and 7, then I've got to do the snow. We can't do the snow till after the first test printing. When we make sure all the blocks are lined up, then we put on the snow. Okay, I'm going to get out of here. Tomorrow, we're back here tomorrow, same time, same station. Thanks for viewing this morning. We'll be back here again with the same thing, and then a day off in Norway. Thanks again, guys. Bye-bye. See you soon. There we go. Okay, see you tomorrow.